everyone, this is Rabbitearsblog, and welcome to my TV episode Roundup series. So before I get into my picks of the week, I would like to remind everyone that new videos will be posted up every Sunday. It could be Sunday morning, Sunday night, or Sunday evening, depending on when I can get the videos posted up. And if you happen to see any videos posted up during the week, that must mean that there was some TV show or movie news released during the week that I wanted to cover. So those would be considered special videos, but new videos will be posted up every Sunday. And every Monday, I will have the TV episode Roundup series, which I go over all the episodes I review for the week. And I go from worst pick of the week to best pick of the week. And those will be airing on Mondays. So now let's get started on this video. So for this week, I didn't really have any worst picks for the TV episodes. All the TV episodes I watched for this week were very well done. So I didn't have any worst picks of the week, but I do have maybe a low pick of the week. So let's get started with this list. Number 4 is Kevin Probably Saves the World, Dave. So what happens in this episode is that it turns out that a friend of Kevin's mother has cancer, and her mother is like, I don't want to get any treatment for cancer because it's just so painful to me. So Kevin's like, if you want to, you could do a lot of things that you really want to do on your last few days or whatever. And the mom is like, goes out there and does a lot of things that she wanted to do, like beat up somebody else's mailbox and stuff like that. And then meanwhile in this episode, Dave, or the police officer, wants to ask Amy out, and Reese is like, I don't want you to date my mom or anything like that. And Kevin's like telling the police officer, oh, you could go ahead and ask Amy out. And that's pretty much what happens in this episode. So my thoughts about this episode is that I thought this episode was really cute and emotional. Like, I like the story plot about how Kevin's friend's mother is like affected with cancer, and her his friend is like so worried about her mother and wondering why she won't get the treatment to cure her or whatever. And I like how Kevin spends some time with the mom and has her doing the things that she always wanted to do before she dies or before the cancer overtakes her. So I really like those moments with Kevin. And I also like the scenes with Amy possibly going out with the police officer, or the police officer pining after Amy, because you could tell in the last few episodes the police officer likes Amy, but he has a hard time trying to ask her out or whatever. So I like to see where Amy and the police officer's relationship is going to go at this point. So overall, I gave this episode 4 stars, and that was number 4. Moving on to number 3, and it's Ghosted Ghost Studz. So what happens in this episode is that Max and Leroy end up going after these two guys who are doing this paranormal activity type TV series, and one of the guys ends up recognizing Max, and it turns out that Max used to teach the guy in school, and the guy would tease Max about just being the cameraman and all that stuff, even though Max is just there undercover and he's actually a ghost hunter himself. And it turns out that the two guys doing the TV show end up getting sucked into this portal that's in the refrigerator, and Max and Leroy had to jump in the portal to rescue them. So I really enjoyed this episode because it's really hilarious, and I like the fact that there you have one character who knows about Max and about his past and about what happened between him and his wife. And so we still get a bit of Max trying to find out what happened to his wife in this episode, while still introducing us to new characters and within the series, and exposing us to new paranormal activities going on in the series. So I thought this episode was fun, and I liked the whole Max is still second string to Leroy in this episode. So it was nice and fun. So I gave this episode 4 stars, and that was number 3. Moving on to number 2, and it's The Gifted Extreme Measures. So what happens in this episode is, turns out Marcos has to go back to his ex because he promised in the last episode that if his ex girlfriend helps him try to rescue Polaris, he would do anything she wants. And Marcus ends up going on this mission where he has to throttle this kind of some kind of things that the other mafia group has, and he has to go burn up their stuff and stuff like that. And he doesn't tell Polaris about any of this, and of course Polaris is upset when she finds out that Marcos didn't tell her about what he was really doing behind her back and stuff like that. And meanwhile, what happens in this episode is that we start to find out more about the guy that Lauren starts to have a crush on. And when Reed finds out about what this guy's criminal record. He like tries to tell Lauren, this guy's no good and stuff like that, and Lauren gets real mad at her dad, and Reed is like trying to figure out how he's going to make it up to Lauren and try to help the guy confess to his past crimes and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed this episode because it was really intense. I also like the moments about Lauren possibly having a crush on a guy, because we never see her interact with many people except with her brother Andy and her family, Kate and Reed as her parents. And so it was interesting to see a guy be introduced into this series and have some kind of relationship with Lauren. And I was also interested in Marco's in his past, about how he used to work for the mafia and how his past is catching up to him. Although I am a little upset about the whole Polaris thing, because I wish Marcos would have told Polaris about what he was really doing instead of just going off by himself and not telling her. There's also the incident with Blank leaving the team in this episode, or she goes off to try to find out what happened in her past, and Johnny tries to help her out. So I hope that we resolve this Blank situation, because that's so far that's like the least favorite part of the storyline for me, is what's going on with Blank and Johnny. So I hope they resolve that in the next few episodes. But overall, I gave this episode 4.75 stars, and that was number 2. So moving on to my number 1 pick, and that's the Orville Firestorm. So what happens in this episode is that Alara tries to save a crew member who got some debris falling on him when the ship goes through this kind of superstorm or something like that in space, and one of the crew members ends up having some kind of debris fall on him, and it turns out that Laura is like terrified of fire, and when the fire prevented her from rescuing the crew member, she gets really upset about that. She's like, I'm not worthy to be serving on this crew because I got scared. And Ed is trying to tell Laura, everybody gets scared, so this is not a big deal. But Laura's like, I should do something about this so I won't get scared anymore. And it turns out that the ship ends up getting haunted when Laura first sees a clown running down the hallway, and then Kelly ends up nearly falling to this black hole, and then tarantulas came and covered the ship, and all these scary activities keep happening on the ship, and everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. Wasn't when they went into that storm, it caused some kind of weird images to pop up in the ship, or some kind of fears to pop up in the ship, and that's what happens in this episode. So I really enjoyed this episode because it's a nice, scary episode. I never would have thought they'd do a scary episode for this type of series, but this episode was quite intense because you wonder what's going to happen to the crew next. You wonder how Laura's going to conquer her fear of fire, or conquer her fear in general. So I really did enjoy this episode for that reason. It teaches us about, how to conquer your fears, and that you shouldn't put yourself down just because you're scared of something. So I liked how this episode dealt with all that. So overall, I gave this episode 4.75 stars, and that was my pick of the week. So, what were your favorite episodes for the weekend? What were your favorite shows for the week? Please feel free to comment below, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Follow me on Twitter so I can keep you updated in any new videos I post up, and also like my Facebook page, Rabbitearsblog's Best Comments. Well, hope you enjoyed this video. This is Rabbitearsblog, and I'll see you later.